What's going on, guys? It's Danny from Fantasy Stock Exchange here, and today I'll be going through my top 6 Dynasty stashes entering the 2023 offseason cycle, highlighting some guys that are easily affordable and are candidates that can either help you win on a contender or potentially accumulate in value across the offseason or potentially even in season. So if you guys enjoy, make sure you leave a like down below. Comment your favorite Dynasty stash going in, those middle rounds, 15, 16, 17 rounds of your Dynasty drafts. And of course, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. Appreciate you guys for that continued support. But with that being said, let's hit the damn intro. All right, so today's video is going to consist of 6 total players, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, and a quarterback, who can all be obtained for a 3rd round pick or less on the trade market, or easy dart throws for those of y'all in startups coming up, like I mentioned, in those mid-teen type of rounds. These are the guys with upside you should be targeting. But let's get right into it and kick it off with the first wide receiver of the video, New Orleans Saints wide receiver Rashid Shaheed, going off the board according to Keep Trade Cut as the wide receiver 70 right now. Way too cheap, and let me get into why. He's a 24-year-old wide receiver entering his 2nd year with the New Orleans Saints, who showed out in a big way down the stretch for New Orleans in his rookie season. In the last 5 weeks of the season, the 2022 NFL season, he posted 11.8 PPR points per game and 64.8 receiving yards per game on 2.59 yards per route run throughout the year, an 18.1% target rate, and about 75% of his snaps spent out wide, meaning that when they go to 2 wide receiver sets, he is more than capable for playing that role. Not to mention an 80.8 PFF grade on the season as a rookie. If that was translated across a full sample size, it would have ranked him as a top 10 wide receiver amongst qualified options. So definitely a very good talent. Definitely showcase that ability in his rookie season. And good friend Ian over at Dynasty M actually has a limited sample of range of outcomes, but the ones that do show up do have promise. Brandon Marshall, Brian Hartline, obviously, it would be hyperbolic to say he's going to be the next Brandon Marshall, but it just kind of goes to show you how impressive of a rookie season that Shaheed actually put up. Not to mention, if we're actually talking about the team situation, Michael Thomas is the biggest question mark in football right now. He has the biggest cap hit in the NFL for 2024, and the team can save $45 million by releasing him following the season. Not to mention, like I said, Shaheed's already shown promise. Shaheed showed that he can be a viable number 2 caliber wide receiver behind Chris Olave. He's got that good size profile, 6 foot, 180 pounds, and they're a team that just needs to rely on good, cheap production, given the cap implications at hand for New Orleans. So with Rashid Shaheed, he can be had in super late rounds of a startup right now, or as a throw-in piece in most of your trades. So he's worth a flyer on someone that could potentially get wide receiver 2 snaps and showed out down the stretch as a rookie. In terms of potential trades you guys may be able to offer to get Shaheed on your team, according to Keep Trade Cut, guy like Tyquan Thornton trade up. Not nearly as good of a season as a rookie that Shaheed showed. Rookie pick 304, I'd be willing to take that dart throw on a guy like Shaheed to get those wide receiver 2 snaps for that cost. Malik Willis, don't really think he's going to be a long-term option there. Leonard Fournette, washed up running back. And then Zach Wilson, I was as high as anybody on him, but I think the ship has sailed on Zach Wilson. I think this would be a good return. So overall, Rashid Shaheed, given his cost right now, I think is one of the best buys in Dynasty. But second wide receiver of the video, we're going to go on to Darius Slayton, entering free agency this year, 26-year-old wide receiver, currently valued as the wide receiver 76 on Keep Trade Cut. And I'm just going to preface this right now. This one is very time influenced, because I do expect his value to rise dramatically following NFL free agency. If you're doing a startup right now, maybe you're entering that 10th, 11th round area, I really like his wide receiver 76 valuation. Here's why. He's someone that has flashed anytime he's had opportunity. We saw last year that once he maintained a 50+% snap share down the stretch, he averaged 10.5 PPR points per game. Not to mention, like I kind of said, the wide receiver free agency implications are totally at hand here. In a weak wide receiver free agency class, I think he should be one of the most coveted options on the open market, and could potentially set up, a quick flip type of situation if you are in a reactionary league market. Once the best ball bros start hyping him up, he's going to be the next big thing. They're going to hype up his ADP probably to like the 10th, 11th round in best ball. At that point, you may be able to make some really, really valuable deals for yourself, whether that's, Slayton plus a 3 to get a 2, those type of deals. Those should be able to open up for you as the offseason progresses. We're talking about August, we're talking about July. Those type of deals should be able to open up for you, especially if you're not fully ready to contend. Using Slayton to upgrade from a 3 to a 2 is one of the best potential moves you should be able to do. But even if your league is not reactionary, I think a mid to late third right now should be able to get it done to Slayton. And like I said, he's still young, 26-year-old wide receiver, upside at the wide receiver spot in a potential new situation. So overall, I think Slayton presents a very, very valuable piece right now that can be manipulated throughout the Dynasty trade calendar. And for those equivalent cost pieces, I think he's a great dart throw. In terms of keep trade cut, the equivalent cost pieces represent Kyle Trask, Tyler Huntley, Matt Corral, Irv Smith. All I would much rather have Darius Slayton over. So absolutely love Darius Slayton. We can move on to the first running back of the video and the third overall player. That's going to be Rashaad Penny, running back entering free agency. Valued as the running back 50 in Dynasty right now. And he's already shown in the NFL that when he is healthy, he can be one of the better pure runners in the entire league. 7th highest PFF grade in 2021, where his late season stretch, if you guys remember that, led to a lot of people winning their championship in their fantasy leagues. And in that season, Penny led the NFL in yards per touch, 6.4 yards per touch, breakaway run rate at 12.6%, and was second in yards created per touch at 3.83, according to Player Profiler. Not to mention, he had the 12th highest EPA of all qualified running backs, en route to averaging about 21.3 PPR points per game between weeks 14 and 17 when he went on his tear. Like we already said, he's an extremely efficient runner whenever healthy, and that is proven. The main question marks about Rashaad Penny, I doubt many people think he's not a talented player, but the question marks really stem from his age, 27-year-old player, injury status coming off of that fractured fibula that ended his 2022 season, and his overall limitations in the pass game. However, I get that there are concerns, but his opportunity cost right now of running back 50 off the board in startups, I think he presents way more upside than that. Penny presents an opportunity right now where if he lands in free agency as a 1B, 1A type in a committee for a good team, can be that main between the tackles, James Conner type of path to paying off for value. And like we saw with James Conner in 2021 when he signed with the Cardinals, a lot of people were out given the past injuries, not really sure how he'd fit with that new team. And Conner ended up being that main goal line back, which is definitely a role I think Penny can play for his next team. He showed that when healthy in 2021, he is one of the more efficient goal line runners in the NFL. 12 goal line carries, 3 goal line rushing touchdowns with a 58% rushing success rate in the final 4 weeks of 2021. So overall, if you have a team that's contending and you could use a potential, RB3, RB4 type of archetype with huge upside on a contending roster, like I said, I think Penny is the high upside dart throw that can pay off in a huge way. I mean, we're talking about round 15, round 16 of your startup, getting a potential RB2. So looking at the trade market right now, according to Keep Trade Cut, Paris Campbell, Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston, Isaiah Spiller, late 3rd round pick this year. None of those remotely hold a candle to the level of upside that Rashaad Penny could represent once he signs with his new team in free agency. Again, I'm the running back hater. I don't advocate for trading for running backs, but if you're paying a late third or if you're playing, some of these fodder pieces for a guy that can genuinely win you a championship when you are on a contending push, I'm all for buying a guy like Rashaad Penny right now. And a very similar case of Rashaad Penny is Damien Harris, another free agent running back, 26 years old from New England, currently valued as the running back 41 on Keep Trade Cut. And again, like I said, very similar case to that of Rashaad Penny. Very talented rusher entering free agency to scoop up a potential valuable role as the team's lead efficient rusher wherever he signs. He was the number 5 graded rusher according to PFF in 2021, ultimately kind of ceding his job this past season to Ramondre Season due to injury. But I still think he's a very good player. And entering in the prime of his career, 26 years old, already proven in the past that he can handle early down and red zone work. We saw in 2021, 47 carries inside the 20 and 13 rushing touchdowns in that season, en route to finishing as the PPR running back 14. And this time of the year, it's all about being able to spot those cheap, talented backs that have an opportunity to get a significant role in a committee. This is how we find out our favorite 0 running back targets for fall. I can tell you right now, in a lot of my best ball teams, Damien Harris is going to be on them. If he's going in best ball, round 10, round 11, he will be on all of my teams. And like I said with Rashaad Penny, James Conner is a very good comp here where he could be that main thick between the tackles, bell cow runner, Obviously, he's not going to handle the receiving work, but if he can punch in, 10 plus touchdowns like he did in 2021, I'm all for it. And right now, you could potentially move non-needle moving type of assets. I'd be more than comfortable picking up Harris on my competing teams to fill out my running back core for cheap. Some of those assets, like I said, Zay Jones, Curtis Samuel, Mike Gesicki, 302 this year, or Hunter Renfrow, all assets that I would prefer Damien Harris over. So very, very cheap running back options. So all for Damien Harris. Next player on the list and the first tight end of the video, had to get a Dallas Cowboy in. Tight end Jake Ferguson of my Dallas Cowboys. Tight end 27 off the board right now, according to Keep Trade Cut. And while the counting stats aren't crazy when it comes to Jake Ferguson, we have to contextualize that tight ends just usually are not productive as rookies. And Ferguson was playing behind a veteran tight end with Dalton Schultz throughout his rookie season. However, the peripherals are where I'm very, very encouraged. 1.79 yards per route run, 7.7 yards after catch per reception, and a 75.2 PFF grade, which would have all ranked as a top 15 option at the tight end position this year. And point blank simple, you guys might be asking, well, what about the eye test? You're a Cowboys fan. How did he look in game? It was clear to me that the drop-off in play between him and soon-to-be highly paid tight end Dalton Schultz was not nearly as substantial as I expected entering the season. And in fact, at times, Ferguson just looked like the superior player, and the EPA will back that up. I get it. This is a much more limited target sample size than Dalton Schultz had, but he was a much, much more efficient player, especially after the catch, than Dalton Schultz in 2022. And not to mention, at this point of the offseason, it's all but ensured that the Cowboys will move on from Schultz rather than paying his contract demands. They're a team that's strapped for cash, got to pay CeeDee Lamb soon, got to pay Trayvon Diggs soon, going to extend Dak soon. So Dalton Schultz does not fit in their plans. He's going to ask for over $10 million. I don't foresee the Cowboys paying that bill. And I'm not saying, of course, with Jake Ferguson, he's the end-all, be-all. He's going to automatically assume the role as the tight end one. No, of course there is risk with the stash. There's absolutely a possibility the Cowboys could add a tight end at some point in the offseason cycle. Free agent, somebody in the draft, etc. But at this point, I'm just going to buy players that show good promise as rookies and have a potential opportunity at increased playing time at a position that usually take years to see proper production. And with Jake Ferguson, he actually reminds me of a lot of what Schultz represented a few years ago, only he had actually shown more promise in his rookie season than even Dalton Schultz did. So overall, if he gets the opportunity, I have no doubt in my mind that tethered to a top 5 offense, Dak Prescott leading the charge, he can be a plus investment at tight end 27 off the board. Late third this year, or an old roster plugger like Tyler Higbee makes a lot of sense as a low risk, high reward investment that Ferguson could potentially provide. So absolutely love that. Like I said, 311 value this year, I would take Jake Ferguson. Tyler Higbee this year, I would take Jake Ferguson. Ultimately here, I would prefer not to give up draft capital, but if you can provide, those roster clogging, Austin Hooper, Tyler Higbee, guys like that, roster clogging older tight ends for Jake Ferguson, I would rather take the upside shot at that point. On to the final player of the video and the only quarterback of the video. We got Jacoby Brissett, quarterback 43 off the board, according to Keep Trade Cut, currently entering free agency. And with Jacoby Brissett, he just presents one of the best cheap quarterback depth options on the market right now. Last year, we saw him playing some genuinely good football. He ranked out as the 8th quarterback amongst qualified options in terms of expected points added plus completion percentage over expected composite this past season, and looks like one of the prime quarterbacks on the market that could challenge for starting reps in 2023. And I get it. It is a gross buy. You don't want to go just plug away, go buy Jacoby Brissett, but he might even be free in your league. He might even be on the waiver wire. He might be had, as a throw-in for a deal, 4th round pick, late 3rd round pick, whatever a case may be. I won't go as far to say that he could have a Geno Smith level ascendance, because I think that would be a little ludicrous. Geno Smith was quite literally established himself now as one of the 12 or 15 best quarterbacks in the league. But do I think he could be a stopgap starter for a team, bridge quarterback, similar to kind of what Marcus Mariota represented last year? Absolutely. Teams like Arizona with Kyler's knee, the Washington Commanders, obviously Sam Howell's the only quarterback of note on the roster right now. Carolina, New Orleans, Las Vegas, all could have rookie quarterbacks or potentially go for a veteran option like Brissett. I think all make a ton of sense. And overall, if you're looking to contend and you just need a cheap quarterback added to your room, scooping up Brissett for basically free, like I said, or basically fodder is an absolute must. We're mentioning guys like Josh Kelly, Laviska Shenault, Isaiah McKenzie, Foster Moreau, all for a guy that could potentially start at the game's most important position for your fantasy teams this year. So either way, if you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like down below. Again, like I said, comment your favorite late round dynasty stash. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, on the road to 20,000 subscribers, we'll be coming at you with consistent content throughout the Dynasty offseason. So make sure you do not miss out. Turn those notifications on. Subscribe to every single Fantasy Stock Exchange video. We'll be coming. Take care.
Why you need the money?